Welcome back, and joining me now is Glenn Dahl from Allianz Global Investors. Glenn, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Great to have you here. We've talked over the years about target date funds, and target date funds have really grown exponentially over the last 20 years, in particular around the Pension Protection Act in 2006. These are a very critical asset class in retirement plans, and obviously this is indicated by participants really investing into these types of funds. Is that not what you see in the clients that with whom you're working?
It is, and I think target date funds have done just a phenomenal job for participants in 401k plans, because they went from a world of being in a static investment, possibly not allocated correctly in terms of diversification across global asset classes, to now they are allocated, globally diversified, and they're on a glide path that gets more conservative automatically as they get older. And when you look at the returns and the risk profiles of these individual participants, it's much, much better today in a target date fund than when they did it themselves, to the neighborhood of 2 to 3% per year. So it's a good thing.
Absolutely, and you're really an innovator, and your team's innovating, creating new ideas, new concepts in target date funds. You've got to be a dynamic product developer. You've got to create a dynamic asset allocation to help participants really accumulate money for retirement and also deaccumulate money for retirement. So what are you seeing? What are you thinking about in terms of 5 years, 10 years, and even 20 years down the road in terms of product development?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Our whole industry has been focused on the accumulation phase, which it's taken us a while to get it right, but I think overall we've done a pretty good job as an industry helping participants accumulate assets. The tough job is the decumulation standpoint. And what you have to look at there is, before you get to the decumulation side where you're actually taking retirement income, you have to go through this transition phase. So solving for this transition from accumulation to decumulation is a huge part of the work life and work cycle that we haven't figured out as an industry yet. I mean, we've got some good products out there and some good thoughts, and here at Allianz we have some pretty good, I think, intellectual capital around that, but the industry isn't there yet, and that's where participants and providers are really going to have to get together and make more developments, if you will.
And it's really the spirit of collaboration that is going to make these retirement plans successful. I think you can have, and I think you would agree, that you can have the best investment instruments in a program, but if it's not utilized correctly, that's a real challenge. And we've talked today with Dr. Guerzi, Dr. Bernarzi, about incorporating the concepts around behavioral finance. Right. And you've seen some real great success in that yourself, in terms of your clients, building retirement date structures, target date structures for your clients, and you've actually seen the proof in the pudding.
Right. And when the success has been, especially with the PPA and defaulting participants, so you can default them into a target date fund, you can do auto increase, auto enroll, and those have been great in terms of helping people save for retirement. And now I think what the industry is trying to do is find this robo solution for the transitioning into retirement income. That may work for some participants, but I don't think it's going to work for all. I think a lot of participants, if they've never worked with a financial advisor in their life, when they get in that retirement, call it red zone, if you will, or right before they get ready to retire, that's probably the time where they're going to have to sit down and either have a face-to-face conversation with a financial advisor or talk to somebody to help them get ready for retirement and transition into retirement income. Because there's so many different kinds of retirement income products out there. They're all very different and they're all very complicated. So trying to make that transition, explain the different options, and it's going to be dependent on what kind of income cohort you're in today. Are you a high income earner? Are you a low income earner? Are you somewhere in the middle? It's all going to determine what kind of products you end up going into.
So it's evaluating the product. If you're using an insurance product, it's evaluating the guarantee, the guarantor, whoever's providing that around the product. The regulators, legislators, people are really focused on this. They see the assets flowing into target date funds. They saw what happened in 2008 with a significant, almost a depression in some cases, depressing the account values of participants close to retirement. They had to perhaps work longer or contribute more in order to make that up. How do you plan, when you're a product developer, how do you plan around what's going on in Washington, D.C. and at the state level?
The signals we're getting from the DOL and Treasury is that guarantees are a good thing. So they like insurance products. So, and you're seeing that more and more regulations are coming out saying we like insurance products, we like annuities, we think there needs to be some more guarantees in there. And the reason that is because an insurance product or an annuity is the only product out there that can solve for longevity risk. Everybody talks about longevity risk. All Americans are living longer. You don't want to outlive your assets. The only way to do that, short of the defined benefit plan, is to buy an annuity. Now, in America, for whatever reason, annuity is kind of a bad word. People don't like the word annuity for whatever reason. I think it's bad. And I think in the early days of the 80s and 90s, there were some sales practices out there where they were being overcharged and whatnot. But that, for the most part, is bygone. And when you think about transitioning into retirement, you do want, most people are going to want a certain part of their assets, portion of their assets, annuitized, a la guaranteed, so they never run out of income for their entire life.
But with that guarantee comes perhaps a little bit higher expense, and so that needs to be taken into account.
Yep.
You've got to review and evaluate the product at a plan level,
right.
But then you've got to educate employees
That's right.
about how to use it. So when does it make sense to buy an annuity or
right.
to buy that guarantee?
That's right.
How much of your account to allocate? And that's really, to tie it back to the behavioral finance again, it's about that collaboration with the employer to develop a communications and education strategy around the product and around retirement. I think to this point, we've struggled as an industry to do that. We've struggled to create strategies. We've done a great job of telling people, get in early, contribute more, and you'll have this nest egg. But it's around that nest egg that we've really got to focus our communication education strategy.
That's right. And when you think about annuities, I mean, some are in plans, some are outside of plans. So when I say in plan, it could be part of the target date fund. Some say, no, you don't want to put it inside the plan because you're paying those extra fees that you might not use. So it's better to put it outside the plan. Now, I can make an argument for either one, by the way. And I think, that's going to be plan sponsor specific on what their desires are. They know their participants better, along with their consultants are going to have to help them figure that out. But regardless of whether the annuity is in or outside the plan, you brought up a great point. It's that educational part. How do you educate participants on something that has so many moving parts and so many bells and whistles, and which ones are important and which ones aren't? And by the way, some participants might not need an annuity. The very low paid might not need an annuity because Social Security is going to replace a significant part of their retirement income. The very high paid, very wealthy, they might not need an annuity either because they have the wealth. It's that middle tier that's probably going to need an annuity, and it's going to need that education. And it's probably going to have to come from their plan sponsor, or the plan sponsor is going to have to arrange it so they can figure out, okay, maybe I do need an annuity, and how much do I need, and what type of annuity, because there's so many different types out there.